on. All right, we are recording. We're going to get every second out of this conversation. So, Mark Drager, all the way from Canada. It's
Yes.
what? It's what? 4 p.m. your time, 5 p.m. your
4 p.m.
time.
4
4
p.m.
p.m.
Friday
And
afternoon.
and we're already commiserating poor Tess who can't have coffee yet because it's 7 a.m. and I just fell out of the shower, so I'm having water.
Well, here's what I want to start with. Thank you for even taking a shower, because I typically do not take a shower in the morning. So I did shower this. I shaved actually this afternoon,
Yeah,
just in
it doesn't
preparation
look
for the
like it.
podcast. Well, okay, I did.
I believe you. I believe you. So we should probably, I guess, this is going to be this is the tone I want of this conversation going forward, because we're going to be meeting on a regular basis. There's going to be a whole lot of Canada versus Australia. That already started before I pressed record. So sadly we missed the accent, but I have a feeling the pretend accent's going to pop in from time to time.
It just might.
Oh, you see.
Yes, you might be a Sheila, might you not? I don't know what that means. Is it sexist or racist, what I just said?
No. So Sheila is it's a woman's name, and it's
Yes, my
Australian,
neighbor's name is
really,
Sheila.
it's really bad Australian slang for a woman.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
You'd say
Well,
she's a top Aussie Sheila.
okay. I will
Yeah.
now do research before making these bold claims.
Really good, actually, really good example. I used to work in the record industry a long time ago, and Ray Parker Jr. was doing a promotional tour of Australia and came into our office, and I used to wear some pretty outlandish things to work in those days,
Mm-hmm.
Usually vintage, ridiculous combinations of vintage wear. I turned up to the office wearing, I think I had black tights, 1940s high heel shoes, this broderie anglaise, white short pajama pants. So they were
Okay.
shorts, but they were from a pajama, and a sparkly silver top. And Ray Parker Jr. turned around and said to me, "If you were my daughter and came to work looking like that, I'd smack you on the fanny." And when he saw my face, he said, "Ooh, I understand it. Fanny might mean something different in Australia."
England,
It
Scotland,
does.
Ireland, Australia, something very, very very. Yes.
Yeah, so we would call it,
Yep. We don't. Yep.
you're referring to your back bum, and we're referring to your
Yes.
front bum when we say fanny. So there you go. We went
So
there.
there we go. We set the tone for these types of conversations. My hope is that Tess, you'll have me back sometime, and we'll be able to hang out.
Well, I'm
Fairly
hoping
frequently.
the audience will have us both back.
Hey, if you're still listening,
We love you.
This is what you're in for.
This is what you're gonna get.
So
But
what
there will
what
be some
what are we doing here?
sensibleness.
What are we doing here?
Well, I was thinking about this morning. I was thinking about probably one of the biggest barriers to getting engaged in social media work that my clients have is this fear of being imperfect. So I very deliberately yesterday did a video, a little bit of an unboxing of some of the awesome science kits that we received in the mail this week for my kids' home education. So I'm homeschooling now. And
Sorry, you're homeschooling your kids?
yeah.
Okay.
I just very recently, my older son has some learning needs that have been a challenge to be met in the classroom. Both really bright kids, love learning. Okay, so we're taking this adventure. So this is our little side adventure at the moment. So I did a video yesterday showing what's in these science kits. I've got a bunch of people really curious to know how I'm balancing two businesses and homeschooling my kids. And had just come back for a walk and was all hot and sweaty, no makeup. Really deliberately did a video anyway, because so many of my clients are stuck in this idea of having to be perfect and having to look a certain way before they can do any kind of social media content work. And it reminded me of how you've not done a Facebook Live video, which I must say caused rather a bit of mirth amongst my clients when I mentioned that in a group call the other day, and they were taking bets on what was going to happen.
Hold on. Whoa. So you bring me up.
I do. Yeah. Everyone gets
call.
talked about. Yeah, I did. I said to them, Mark's done lots. Mark's a social media guru.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Worldwide.
Thank you.
And we will be talking about the guru-ness of social media and all the good things that are going to come out of that. But no, I was talking about, everybody has their barriers. And I don't know what's prevented you from doing a Facebook live stream. I've seen you live on Instagram plenty of times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not a fear thing. Obviously, it's just is it a preference thing, or is it a fear thing?
It might be. It probably is a fear thing. So,
yeah, nice.
Yeah. I mean, do we want to dig into this? But I'm more interested in terms of the bet. So you explain, that,
okay.
that to your clients and people in your circle that most of us are completely terrified that people will judge us, that we will do something wrong, that will be perceived a certain way we don't want to. So. And so you explain to them that despite the fact that I'm willing to jump on a podcast or stand up on stage or even host my own podcast or all of this stuff, that I'm actually, I still haven't done an Instagram live yet.
So what I can do, like right now, I can put us live on Facebook right now. I could do that.
That wouldn't bother me.
Let's do that. That wouldn't bother you. So it's different, isn't it? It's a funny thing. So I'm going to put it on a page. Here we go. Mm-hmm. It's going onto my page.
Okay.
There we go. So we're now live on Facebook, but doing your own, so that doesn't bother you.
No. So here's the thing. So as you may know, we have, as many of your listeners may know, we have a mutual friend, Evan Carmichael.
We do.
And, you've been blasting your YouTube channel by just uploading all of the fun conversations that you've had with him.
I know. My VA has gotten a bit excited. She discovered that we could do that. And Evan, I must say, Evan has said to me, use the content, do whatever you want to do with the content. And I've been cringing, thinking Evan's getting these emails saying...
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He literally does not notice or care. But we have a mutual friend, and every Wednesday morning I jump on his.
Who neither notices nor cares.
Yeah. I have. Even if he did notice, he would not care. But we do a 30-minute IG live every Wednesday just to help me practice. To be honest with you, we're doing it because it's fun, but mostly I need more practice with live Q&A, like the ability to take a question completely on random, render it out in real time, and then respond with a thoughtful way. I just need more practice at that. It's very challenging.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. So with a live stream video, my live stream world started. Now I can't find you. Hang on a second. I'm going back to Zoom. There we go. So I started doing all my social media stuff started with live stream video, and it was all Q&A. Mm-hmm. So I would respond to everybody as they came on live, and people would say hello and I'd say hello back, and people would ask a question and I'd answer. And these things would go on for a very long time. They'd be really long. So over the past 12 months, I've been training myself to be more edited, if you like. Well, not so much edited, but focused, distilled. Starting, Evan's talked to me about this, and Steve and you. So Evan and I have the same agent in New York. And Steve's talked to me about this as well. So the process has been one of having a really clear message and getting that out there. But I still do that live, but I don't do it as a Q&A anymore. I save the Q&As for what goes on in my mentoring groups. And there's part of me that still wants to do more Q&A kind of stuff, on whether it's on Instagram or Facebook, because I love that interaction. I really love that engagement with the audience. And I guess, sometimes you do have to make stuff up. And I don't mean lie. I mean, on the fly, you have to come up with an answer on the fly, or say you don't know the answer.
Well, I mean that I'm more than willing to do. I simply jump on this podcast with Evan every week just to try and get the muscle memory down. But I think the term, oh my goodness, can you hear all those pings? My kids keep texting me. Are you hearing every single one of them or no?
I heard one. I just heard one.
My goodness. I said, leave me alone. And then they keep coming down and texting me. And anyway.
Mine will turn up soon. Don't worry. We'll call this the family hour.
Oh, perfect. But you know what, the term I think that I think comes to mind when I hear what you're describing is editorialized. And so there can be the live off the cuff conversations like we're having now. Yeah. Where frankly we did a poor amount of planning, and
we would call it zero. let's be honest.
Could we do? Is there anything less than zero even? Because we didn't even chit chat before we started recording like we did last time. So
no, we didn't. We had like 2 seconds, and then it was so funny that I had to press record, and then we got sensible.
Well, here we are, right? Evan would say idea to action, but you can have live streams that are Q&A that are completely off the cuff. You can have, you can take your phone or your video, and you can have completely off the cuff concepts as well. The reason why I like to consider things editorialized or not is because you can do Q&A, but insist that all the Q&A or pick and choose the questions that actually follow an arc or a stream. You can have a conversation like this that has pre-planned messaging points you may want to hit as a host, or I might want to hit as a guest, or whatever it might be. And so I think there's actually it's not whether something is packaged or unpackaged or careful or not. It's just what level of editorial work are you doing to help make sure this is a great experience. And for me, being in marketing and in video and in media for almost 20 years, a little, not quite, but it feels like it's getting close. I like things to be extremely editorialized, because I know that I'm handing the audience something that's a experience that's void of awkwardness or repetition or people dropping in and out. And that is actually, I think, the thing that keeps me from just jumping onto a live. It's not actually the fear of perfection. It's not.
Yo,
it's
really?
Not, well, maybe it is, but I don't mind stupid. Like I really have a pretty low. I don't know if barrier to entry is the word, but like I'm sitting here right now in my unfinished basement in my daughter's arts and crafts room. I really don't worry about that. It's actually grabbing my phone and doing a live and realizing there's no one there. And I'm just talking.
Why does that matter? Why does that matter?
Wow. Because I don't know. You're the therapist. We can dig into that, but it's like I got to fill this time and start talking, knowing nobody is here. And then when someone jumps in, it's now midstream. Do I start again? Like I would feel so uncomfortable being like, oh, look, hey Tess, welcome.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about this. It's I don't know.
Okay, so I guess there's two trains of thought, and I've done both.
Lack of structure bothers me, maybe.
So I've imposed some structure in what I'm doing, and the way I've done. So it used to be completely spontaneous, and I was stubborn in my spontaneity, rigidly spontaneous, if you like. So I refused to pre-think, I refused to plan, and I would have an idea like, right, I'm going to do a live stream right this second because I just had this idea, and if I didn't get an idea, I wouldn't do a live stream. Now what I do is I actually. And this was a tip that I got from Nicola Moras, who I am working with at the moment, and she's my mentor at the moment, one of my mentors. And so this idea is it's gold. So what I do is I go into notes on my phone or my iPad or whatever, and I type in something about my idea that I just had, and then I copy and paste that into the description of my live stream. So it's now got a chunk of text, almost like a mini blog-sized text, right? So it's got a chunk of reasonable text that gets to the nub of what I'm going to talk about, the idea, the opinion, the reason behind what I'm talking about. And then I talk to that idea. And so I have this idea now that people have content in two formats immediately. They've got something they can read. I've got auto captions on, which is a funny story in itself, which I'll come back to. And there's a video, so they can watch a video if they want to. And there's difference. I'm not reading a script, so there's a bit of difference in the video versus the written, but they're getting the same message in either or both of those formats. That has changed the game for me completely. And so imposing that structure means that I now treat my live streams as a pre-recorded video. It's just that they go on to the thing live. They go onto the platform live, and then I immediately share the crap out of that. The reason I do it live partly is because I juggle so many things, and I don't have a big team around me at the moment to editorialize or to edit the videos or to do all the things. I've got one VA who's very new. It's done once it's live and it's on there and it's done. And so what happens next is whatever happens next.
But that's all process. I mean, you can anyone who is interested in being more social or being a better marketer can dig into the process and the tactics. That's not the thing that scares us or holds us back, though, right?
No, it's not. It's not. The thing that holds us back is fear, and it's fear of all sorts of things. So fear of criticism and judgment, and fear of being wrong. I mean, mental health professionals you know, the bulk of my clients are mental health professionals,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, fear of being wrong in a public space, fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of saying something that goes against the research, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that all that fear, that's like branded onto us at university, right? And so I say to them, you're having a conversation with one person, no different to what you are in the consulting room when you're having a conversation with one person, explaining how anxiety works, or explaining how depression works, or explaining why meditation is useful. And that helps. Most people who stick their head up above the parapets and put themselves on social media, whether it's live or not, will attract some criticism.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some amazing criticism. It's like this badge of honor now.
Have you?
So, oh God, yes.
I don't
Oh
think,
yes.
you know, I must not be outlandish enough or bold enough or big enough, because I've only
Mm,
received one piece of criticism once in like the second week I was doing it, and it was so off
yeah.
base that I laughed at it. Um, so maybe I'm just not swinging hard enough here, because so far I've had just lots of support, love, or people just ignore me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the bulk of what you get, right? And so the fear that most people have about criticism, it's like fear of crime. You know, your fear of
Mhm,
crime far outstrips the actual incidence of crime.
mhm,
Fear of criticism far outstrips the actual instance of criticism. And the criticism I most famously got was from others in my profession who threw some diagnostic labels my way because I was being out in public, you know, in social media land. You know,
mhm,
that there is this assumption, and it's not just mental health professionals. I know this happens in a lot of professions, that you're meant to stay within the four walls of our consulting room and remain invisible. And so, of course, once you step outside of that, you're making other people uncomfortable. And so they seek to become comfortable again by making you wrong. And so that happened quite spectacularly to me a while ago. And it's become the stuff of legend, I have to say. So amongst my mentoring clients, every now and then they'll drag it out as a joke just to give me a bit of a rib. You know,
So,
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 so
so tell me about this bet then. So you're talking to these
So
people.
the bet was that so they've a couple of my mentoring clients have come up with this hashtag smacked
Mhm,
by Tess,
mhm,
which is what they every now and then if I've said no, you're going to do that this week. We're not listening to it. We're not having excuses. That's going to happen today.
mhm.
Uh, Invariably, the comment will be smacked by Tess. Well, I just got smacked by Tess. Hashtag smacked by Tess. So they're waiting to see if you're going to get smacked by Tess and
Oh
get some kind
wow!
of yeah. So that's the bet. That's the
Lucky,
bet.
lucky
The
for
bet is
me. Lucky for me. I was invited here, and
lucky.
I'm
Yes,
not part of your
lucky
circle who's going to get smacked.
smacked by it. Yeah. Sidebar: I don't subscribe to violence. I don't subscribe to smacking. But
Oh really? Hmm.
no, no,
We won't get into
no.
that
Well,
then.
you're looking forward to that then. I'm sorry.
You,
That's not going to happen either.
wow, my thinking immediately went to the fact I have four kids and parenting. Your thinking apparently went to the like S&M or something like that. This is an amazing, like, I was thinking of my four kids and how some kids could use a smack and this and that, but okay, it's in perspective here.
Wow, it's yeah, okay. I was in an airport the other day, and this woman was, and I found myself really triggered and really challenged. I actually confronted a man in Croatia. This would be nearly 11 years ago. I was in
Okay.
Croatia at the beach, very heavily pregnant, and this big burly Croatian, he looked like a bodybuilder or some sort of bloke, was wildly hitting his son.
Mm,
And I confronted him and threatened him with the police and all sorts of things.
mm,
And stomped my pregnant self all the way back to my hotel room, very red in the face and flustered. I get very triggered by that stuff. And there was a woman at the airport the other day, and I just wasn't able. Yeah, the moment was gone by the time I was close enough to have said anything. But I was very close to saying, partly just because of that's I just don't subscribe to smacking, but I also now do a lot of work in child protection, and
mm,
I know how what you see publicly for some families, obviously for some families, is
mm.
very different to what you see privately, and
Yeah.
yeah. there's a big underbelly there. But that's another conversation.
That's another.
That's not really very light-hearted, taking the fun out of Australians conversation. So talking about imperfect action. So, you know, my client population, one of the biggest achievements, you know, for them is when they burst that bubble and do a live stream to their business page, and they're talking about, you know, things that they're passionate about, but they're had been too scared to jump on live and have a conversation. You asked whether or not, you know, what do you do if someone jumps in or if nobody jumps in? And that's where I think you do need to be clear on what it is you're going to talk about and whether or not you're going to respond. So I used to always respond to people coming on live, and I would recap sometimes, you know, not start from the beginning, but I might say, hey, yeah, we're talking about, I don't know, hitting kids. we're talking about whatever we're talking about.
The benefit of striking your child to gain dominance over them. Great topic.
Yeah. Just stop. So, you know, so for my clients, I guess, and just for people generally, you know, that fear. And so one of the things I say to them whenever I'm about to go live, and certainly in the kitchen yesterday, I'm unboxing these amazing science kits. You know, there is always that moment where I think, am I going to do this? As soon as I'm talking, I'm fine, which is probably what will be on my gravestone, on my headphones.
As soon as she was talking, she was fine.
She was fine.
Yeah. No, and then under that, it just 3 dots and it says no longer speaking.
No longer speaking.
Yes.
Yeah. She finally shut up. Here lies Tess. She finally shut up.
So we don't have to get too deep on this, but basically, like, you know, if you were to right now to challenge me to do it, I would easily do it because it was just a challenge and it was something I would do. Jumping on someone's live stream does not bother me at all. If I jumped on a live stream and I knew that there were a handful of people there who would jump in interested in listening and had questions for me, it would be totally easy peasy as well. I don't have a very good reason for why I haven't. I just know that I haven't. And now part of me, I'm not psyching myself up so much that I'm afraid to, which is often the case. I'm actually psyching myself up because I think it's awesome that like I'm actually building significance now as the dude who won't go on live for some strange reason. So, you know, a lot of people have done the like, today, Mark, you will do this, right? And I say, yes, I will. And then life gets busy and I go on and
and you don't. Yeah.
It just doesn't even matter to me. Yeah.
Okay. So here's a question for you. See, that's the other thing, you know, so the question is it fear or is it you actually don't want to, or it doesn't interest you? Now, some people will say that because they're actually fearful and they don't want to acknowledge that they're fearful. Other people don't like to acknowledge that they actually don't want to do the thing. It just doesn't interest them. So I did the Evan's been doing his Just Woke Up challenge, and he challenged me to do the Just Woke Up challenge, and I did it for about 3 days.
I did it,
and it wasn't a challenge.
For one day. The first day, I woke up at 4:45, and I picked up my phone, and I hit Instagram bleary-eyed, and then I realized it's completely pitch black in here, and no one can see me. So then I walked into the bathroom and hit record right before you know when you flick on the lights for the first time. I couldn't even open my eyes, and I had like lines on my face, and it was like drool. And so, yeah, again, I'm not easily embarrassed. I don't think.
Yeah. So I stopped doing it because it just wasn't a challenge to me. It wasn't a challenge to me.
Which is why you challenged Evan with the, what was the challenge? The negativity challenge or something? Or
he called it the crap challenge.
Yes.
He called it the Dr. Test crap challenge.
I'm sure you
I didn't like that. I did not like that name. And that died a death, thankfully, because I really was not happy about the name. But the whole point for Evan was to and that's why he's now doing, partly it's sort of linked to why he's doing the Just Woke Up challenge, about, you know, just being more taking the sheen off. So all of Evan's stuff is very polished, and letting people see more of the behind the scenes Evan. I mean, I know he does that with his stories, but just allowing people in more to that everything's not perfect. So I did as you know, we're preparing to move to Melbourne, not Sydney. I tell you what, Sydney's got cockroaches, just so you know. Melbourne doesn't. And because Evan's the
Ontario,
same.
we have something called wood bugs here. If you go
So I
up
don't want
north,
them
they're
either.
called wood bugs, and they're these little beetle-like things who like to just hide in clothes, and they don't.
I know.
They're not
I
dirty.
know.
They just hide in your carpet and your clothes and all that
No, I
stuff.
don't want them. No, I
Yeah.
don't want them either. No, no, Melbourne doesn't have any of those. But I did a video for my mentoring clients about the processes that I've undertaken over the last number of years to be able to get to a point where my business can now function with me living in Melbourne. And I've traveled backwards and forwards, but it's really important to me that people don't just, I don't, Instagram perfect my life. Oh wow, look at me, I'm now moving in Melbourne and everything's exciting. It is exciting and it's going to be great fun, but this has been years in the making, this process.
So I think on the surface level, I'm just pulling something up on my phone so I can show you. But I think on the surface level, I think once you break that limiting self-belief or that boundary,
Yes.
I used to have a business coach that said that our comfort zones we think are walls, but they're paper thin. They're paper thin. You just push through them. I think that the obvious fears are the fears that we can get over very quickly by jumping on that live. Because truthfully, you do a live, no one cares. No one's even following you yet. So your first live could be terrible and it doesn't matter. It's the comedian who's only in front of 3 people, in front of the audience. The audience isn't going to remember how bad you were. And by the time there's an audience there, you're going to be much better. So the answer is to start. But I think the more, the hidden fears, the fears that are more hidden are once we're actually pretty comfortable with it, being, I don't know what the right word is, like going to bigger depths. Do you know what I mean? Like breaking through to whatever the next level is of your fear. So for example, so I don't know if you can see this picture or not. Can you see this picture?
Yes.
So I took a picture of myself crying because
I'm just seeing the headphones on your cheek like that.
No. So look, there's tears in my eyes. So in September, Evan is beating me up on something and I think he's being absolutely ridiculous. And I hit the point where I'm just like, I'm so tired of this. Like I'm so tired of it. I'm not him. I'm just tired of everything. I'm tired of everything. Yeah. And so I didn't have anything to say to him and I couldn't say anything. So I just texted him this photo. Right now I'm crying. And I felt super uncomfortable doing it. I felt melodramatic. I felt like, but I didn't know what words to say. So I just take this photo. I texted to him. I hit that send button. Like when you hit live and suddenly you're live, hit send, it's gone. But a few days ago, I'm thinking like, I wonder if I should share this photo, this picture on Instagram and talk about, hey, everything's all shiny and everything's all perfect. And so I don't mind sharing this photo to you or your audience right now in context.
Yeah.
I don't mind sharing this photo to Evan. We talked about it on the podcast, but I've really hesitated to actually post it because I feel like when I explain it to you and when I show it to you and there's all this tone and context and control and editorializing and narrative that I've talked about. And if I just post it, I'm worried, people are going to be like, well, look at him just showing off with how sensitive he is, or he thinks everyone is so shiny. So he's just going the other way and using this moment to do you know what I mean? Like, that's the actual more insidious. It's the actual thing that hurts us more. For me, it's not the obvious fears. It's all of those other deeper fears. So,
and that stuff, it's all mind reading. We as human beings love to think that what our thoughts tell us is factual. We love to believe. We don't question our thoughts. We just assume it's a fact. So as soon as the thought pops in there that someone's going to say X, Y, Z about us, we act as if that was a fact. And so we don't do the thing because so-and-so is going to say X, Y, Z about me. Who the hell does she think she is? Or whatever it might be. Thoughts are thoughts, they're not facts, and you can choose to believe them or not. You can choose to act against them or not. You can choose to act despite them, And that mind reading that we do is probably one of those really obvious examples of that fear of criticism and judgment that comes in. And it's as if the person is standing right next to you saying it to your face. That's how it makes us shrink. It makes us shrink, makes us sort of pull back from challenging that comfort zone. Post the damn thing.
Well,
How
and
things
so
go.
that's the thing. Like, my story could help a lot of people. It could,
For sure.
I
For
don't know,
sure.
it could help younger people or men or women or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But my biggest fear is that people will be like, oh, look at that guy thinking he's so sensitive, right? Oh, he's so
Yeah.
anti-toxic men, whatever it's called, masculinity. Look at him. He's so, and that's why I'm
Yeah.
like, and it's that look at me thing for me, it's like,
Yeah.
I want people, we've talked about
Yeah.
this. I
Yeah.
love people listening to me. I love people
Yeah.
asking me questions. I love being
Yeah.
the center of attention. I just don't want to appear to be loving it. Right.
Oh, I totally love it. I'm,
I don't want to be
yeah.
accused of loving it too much.
Well, then claim it. Claim it. I was an actor before I was a photographer. Of course, I love being the center of attention.
But you're an extrovert,
But
aren't you?
it's well, I'm actually not. It's
You're an
like I have
introvert.
this extrovert. Yeah, I have this extrovert mode, and this is where I feel safe. I feel safe with. I feel safe on a stage. I feel safe in a lecture theatre in front of 400 students. I used to lecture at the university. I feel safe in a classroom. I feel safe doing all this stuff. But you put me in a party
Hmm.
with a bunch of people, whether I know them or not, I don't feel so comfortable,
Hmm.
and you overexpose me to
Hmm.
conversations, and I will need to pull away. I will need to have my own
So
space
your
to just
next
decompress.
challenge is to go to a party and live stream at that party in front of everyone.
I see. I would totally do that, but there'd be a glass of champagne or gin or something in my hand, and it would be
Completely
different.
sober, complete. Actually,
See, but
not even sober,
simply
hungover.
because no, well, no, I don't drink that much. No, I don't drink that much. I don't drink that much. But my point being, I'm the same. As soon as you make it a live stream, well, then it's a completely different conversation because I'm
Hmm.
talking to my audience, and that's a safe conversation for me,
Hmm.
even if I don't know who's watching, or even if nobody's watching. Um, but I think that that idea of comfort zones being paper boundaries. I think of them as being like a chalk line on the floor. You can actually step beyond it. It's actually not difficult.
Oh, see, when you
That's
said
because we
chalk
tell ourselves
line,
it's
I
difficult.
immediately thought of the outline of a dead body that they used to do in murder movies. So I didn't know where you were going with that with the chalk line. It's that like thing. But
Yeah, no, I wasn't going there.
so
I wasn't going
so
there.
maybe this is an Australian Canadian thing. What chalk line on the floor? What are you talking about?
I was just talking about you drawing a line on the floor. Like
Why
you can
why
step
would you
over it.
draw a line on the floor? Like, are you talking about hopscotch? Like, what line? What is this? What are you talking about?
Okay, okay, okay. So imagine you're standing. We're making your comfort zone visible by drawing a line around yourself and say, okay,
Ah,
if as long as I'm inside this line, I feel safe.
okay.
So
The
it's a
boundary,
metaphor.
the two. Okay, a metaphor. Okay. Wow. I'm gonna go back and screenshot that second. You should
Yeah,
never
yeah,
do
yeah.
anything like that in video because I can take a screenshot and make a meme of that.
I'm
And
sure you
Reddit
can. Oh,
can
you
be
see.
up in a second.
Yeah, right. Thanks. Okay. In fact, one of my clients and I were talking the other day about creating memes of each other. I'm not sure that that's a safe conversation anymore. I think, but the point about comfort zones is they're just in your head.
Hmm.
And when you draw a circle around yourself with a piece of chalk and say, okay, you're standing in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It becomes ridiculous, right? It becomes this. Oh well, it's
It's
stupid. Of course, I can
it's
step.
as ridiculous as putting chalk on the ground and putting yourself
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
bubble.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you're putting yourself in this ridiculous, arbitrary line of chalk on the floor,
Hmm.
and saying I can't step outside of that chalk circle because I'm scared. Well, it's
Hmm.
bullshit. It's a chalk circle. It's the same with your comfort zone. Everything's hard the first time you do it. Riding a bike is hard. Riding a horse is hard. Ice skating is hard. Anything's hard. Yeah, what are you so scared of? You're scared of falling over. Well, if you
Hmm.
didn't fall over as a toddler, would you have learned to walk? You get up again and you try. Toddlers are great examples for not being afraid of failing. Failing
Yeah,
is part of the
Tony
process.
Robbins has a great story. I'm not sure if you've ever heard it, right? Where he talks about like in hyperbole, what a terrible parent would start yelling at the kid and getting all angry and saying, "You're so stupid. How could you make a mistake like falling?" And suggesting, "You'll never walk. This is ridiculous." And that's the voice that we have in our head.
That's the voice we
How
have.
bad we are. But, of course, the parent says, "No, get up, keep going." Kid tries 4 months or 6 months, and eventually they walk.
Yeah, eventually they walk. That's it. Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's the same with taking, everything that we do, take that imperfect action. So for me, I keep talking about this, doing Instagram live Q&As, and I've dabbled with them. In fact, we talked live on Instagram. I think that was the first time we talked.
Yes, you were doing a live, and then I said hi, and then we jumped in. Yeah. See, I don't mind doing that. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, so that's easy. Yeah. I think for me, the barrier is that I know that my audience on Instagram is, A, it's larger, but B, it's because it's larger, there's a lot more Americans. So it's half of my Instagram audience is, half of my audience across the board is American, but because the Instagram numbers are bigger, for some reason that poses in my mind some kind of extra layer of overthinking, and that's what it is with me. So then I get into
you're worried. You're worried about the Americans?
No, isn't everyone? No, no. I love my American friend.
Well, let me ask you a question. So you have one of these amazing accents that, thanks. I mean, to you, maybe I sound like I have an accent, but to me, obviously I don't. Yeah. So I don't think Canadians really have an accent. I feel like we're fairly neutral, or we're confused for Americans.
I don't know about that.
You don't? Okay. So only people in Newfoundland say a boot.
Really? A boot and who's?
And who's?
I know.
Because Newfies speak like partially Scottish almost, right?
Yeah,
like,
well, they do. Yeah, right.
So that's why they say a boot. When they talk about going oot in a boot, right?
Oot in a boot.
Oot in a boot, right? Out into the cold, eh? Like, they talk all weird, but we don't. We say about, right? We say the weirdest thing we say is root as opposed to route, like Americans, or roof instead of.
So we say root. We say root instead of route. My kids were arguing the other day about root versus route.
Yes, we say aluminum rather than aluminium, like the Brits.
We say aluminium.
You say aluminium? Yeah, we go ahead and drop. We go ahead and drop a whole few 2 letters in there, aluminum. But anyway, regardless of that, you have this amazing accent. So I imagine, or do you believe? This is the question: do you believe, for your American audience, your Canadian audience, the worldly audience, do you believe that people with great accents have that perceived 20 or 30 point IQ bump, and people who speak slower with American accents to the world actually have the perceived 20 or 30 point IQ drop? Because I'm going to be honest, the first few times that I heard you, I was like, this looks like a pretty smart woman, and I don't know if it's because you are smart or if it's because of your accent, and I just don't know yet.
Let's let that remain a mystery, shall we?
This is the dynamic you wanted in this show, right?
This is it. Yeah. I think perceptions are all. Like, I hear myself speak, and I hear every now and then something sort of plummy jumps in, and I don't know where it comes from. And I do have a bit of a lisp, so I grew up very conscious of forming words in my mouth.
I as well. I could not I could not say R. So I used to say mock, and my sister's name was Shewell, and because I just could not say R. So I remember sitting with a speech person saying race car, and yes. So now I try to articulate everything when I'm making a point, but people just think I'm pretentious.
Well, that's right. So if I'm tired, you can tell when I'm tired because my lisp will either my lisp will become more prominent, or I sometimes feel like I sound like I'm drunk because I feel like I'm struggling to formulate my words clearly when I'm tired. But
where's your coffee? Have you gotten has your husband dropped off your coffee?
Well, you could have got me one. No, there's no. The cafe won't be open yet, and he can't make coffee.
What? Like emotionally, physically?
Well, I don't drink instant coffee.
Yeah, but he's not capable of like grinding some things, putting them into a French press, putting the water in, or whatever you do.
He's totally capable, but I'm fussy, and I've not taught him how to do it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so it's on me. It's on me. It's not on him.
Perfect.
You would totally make me a coffee, wouldn't you, Simon, if I asked you to? He would try. Oh, he's going to the hardware store. Yeah, so he would make me a coffee if I asked, but then I would have something to say about it. So we're better off just avoiding that conversation. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So what's your advice, having been through this? You know, you're a clinician yourself.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to host mode here, but you're a clinician
Okay.
yourself.
We can take turns. See, that's the
perfect.
beauty of this show. We can just decide who's boss any minute.
Perfect. You may have been a step ahead of maybe more people in private practice, or in maybe even the healthcare system, because you were a lecturer, you were on stage, you know, you have been out front, you are more entrepreneurial, but you know, knowing so intimately those that you coach and you work with, what's the first step, like the literal first step?
I think the literal first step, and this is something that I didn't have clear words to articulate until I started reading E-Myth. I don't know if you've read the E-Myth. And he talks,
Yes. Back in 2006, I read it.
Yeah. So
has it gotten better over the years?
I don't know. I have to confess, I've probably read like 2 pages, got what I needed, and went, they're the words I needed.
Perfect.
And
Those are the only 2 pages you need to read.
There you go. So, and the words I needed were technician versus business owner. And so as clinicians, and this happens in every profession, I know. So you will be an excellent psychologist or social worker or dentist, for that matter. And you are so good at what you do. You've got a great reputation. You've networked really well. Everybody knows you. Everybody loves you. It's like, perfect. I really need to have a private practice. I really need to go into business myself. I could make much more money and have more flexibility, more time to do all the other things I want to do if I ran my own business. Yet nobody's taught anyone how to do that. We just make it up as we go along. And so, of course, invariably there comes a time when you realize getting by on the seats of my technical skills as a clinician isn't going to cut it as a business owner. And the flexibility and the freedom is, where did that go? And all the stress and all the worries and the cash flow and the this and the that, let alone managing team members and all that sort of stuff.
So what's
We're not taught how to do that. The first step is recognizing that. So the first step is understanding that you do actually need to take time out of that daily grind of running your business to actually step back and acknowledge that you're a business owner. And I get people to be thinking about being a CEO. You're a CEO in your business. It's really hard, but you've got to do it, and you've got to have. This is what I was getting at before about the conversation I had with them about moving to Melbourne. If you've got a CEO mindset and you're thinking 3 to 5 years in the future, you can make strategic decisions that get you there more easily if you've got that bigger picture vision, because you know where you're going. But if you're caught in the daily hamster wheel, all you're seeing is daily crisis, or daily whatever it is, and you're spinning your wheels all the time. So being able to step back and spend that time thinking about where is this going? Where do I actually want this to go? And what's the next strategic step for me? So for a lot of people, it's about investing in mentoring. So my clients obviously have made that step. They've already made that step. And then it's about saying, okay, all the things I assumed I needed in my business, maybe I need to rethink that. So I've had people who've been mentored by me who've been all about building up their business, and then at the end of a particular program, one person in particular has stepped back and said, do you know what I actually need to have another job in addition to my business, because I don't have experience in this particular clinical area, and the only way I'm going to get that is being employed in a hospital or something like that. That's a brave, and I've done a bunch of posts recently about taking a detour is not the same as failing. It's just recognizing you need to take a detour.
Oh, I love that. I'm so surprised when I speak to people who are ambitious and have goals, and yet they're not willing to do 2 or 3 years of whatever they need to do. Like maybe if in a career, it's actually, you know, I was in this field and now I'm going to this field, and I'm going to have to start 3 or 4 levels below what I'm used to. But if you're really good and you're committed, you're going to move up fast, but people won't take that plunge. Or I need to pause what I'm doing here to be able to make room to do this. And they're unwilling to do that. They want everything all the time, so they don't do anything. And And I love what you're saying about the detour. I might steal that.
Yeah, it's a powerful. Well, go for it. It's a powerful concept, really, because people are so scared of well, people feel it's a failure. Oh, I'm going to go and get a job, not because my business sucks, but because I want some extra skills. It's a different conversation. And I've had people who've decided, come in assuming they're going to buy their own space and practice out of their own building and do all those sorts of things. And then through the journey of mentoring, and this is, I don't tell people what to do, mind you. This is, people reach these conclusions through the process of mentoring. And then decided, actually, that doesn't serve my bigger picture goals, which is to have more and more and more freedom and flexibility.
Right.
If I'm saddled with a building that I have, responsibility and all that, team and all that sort of stuff, so completely reshaping what their strategic current goals are, so that they match those longer term goals.
This is so funny. This mirrors almost any industry where I think people are craftspeople, technicians, as you said, but there's a craft, there's a skill that you've developed. And people for years have been reaching out to try and ask, or they do ask, but to try and get a sense of how I built the company that I built and how I built it. And ultimately, truthfully, I started in film school. I worked in television, and then that led me to franchising in a bunch of other places. But the long and the short of it, I love the business. I've always loved the business side and the strategic side of it. So it was super easy for me not to want to do any of the technical stuff. I don't like it. It was always like the worst part of my job. And so, if these people are going to come along and they love the craft, well, you're going to feel completely saddled and strangled and like you're only spending 10% of your time on the craft when you spend the rest of your time on payroll and hiring and negotiating insurance and lease and reviewing NDAs and all this other stuff that you have to do. And I think that's really key. Is I always say, what type of business do you want? What do you want to spend your days doing? And if it's practicing the craft, then don't go buy a building, right?
Don't buy a building. That's exactly right. So we have a lot of political stuff going on in mental health profession in Australia at the moment, and it affects how people choose to charge their fees, or influences decisions that people make about charging their fees. And so Medicare in Australia is well established, and there's a rebate that people get for seeing some mental health professionals. And some people choose to bulk bill, which means that they take the rebate as their sole payment for that client directly from the government. It's about, the rebates typically are up to 50% of the recommended fee for our professions, often less than 50% of the recommended fee for our professions. And so a lot of business owners get stuck in the clash between values. So their values-driven decisions are around, I want to provide this service, I want to provide it to people who are struggling. That's okay.
Jonah, please. You can just leave that there.
Hey, Jonah.
he's walking around with a giant box of grapefruit cups.
Right. Okay.
He didn't get the memo.
No, he didn't. So I guess, this values-driven decision-making around, I want to help people. I want to help people who can't afford to pay, and I want to do this for free, and I really blah, 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 blah. And that's really admirable. But does that fit with running a business? Does that fit? And I mean, the recommended fee for psychology is built on the idea of what it costs to pay yourself a salary and run the business, right? And so if you're only taking 50% of that, you've only got enough money to run the business. You haven't got enough money to also pay yourself salary. Right. So I will say to people, is private practice the right fit for your values? And it's okay if it's not. It's okay if it's a better idea for you to go and work for a charity or for a government agency or something like that. Maybe dabble in private practice on the side if you want to do that. But if it's going to clash with your values, that's a first principles kind of conversation to be having with yourself. And that's a hard conversation for people to have, because they want to have their own business. They want the freedom and flexibility that we all believe, this mythical freedom and flexibility that we all believe.
It does not exist. I don't know. I don't know why we thought we would somehow be more free. It's just not the case. I've been doing this for 14 years. Not the case.
It gets to a point. So there's a tipping point where you can get to that. And that's I've gotten to that point more recently. But But, you know, I mean, my business is 10 years old and I've been a psychologist for nearly 20, and, you know, and it's taken, again, strategic decision making, very deliberate decisions over the last 2 or 3 years that have led to this point.
And I shouldn't say it can't. There are certainly,
there are ways.
There are lots of benefits that I have as the business owner that that my employees certainly do not.
Well, you get to choose which work you do, for example. You know,
no, see, that's funny. I don't. That's not the case.
To a point.
I fill in every single gap where my staff do not. The type of benefits I have, obviously, you know, there's financial benefits. There's the ability for taxation reasons to do whatever you want to do. I think last year I took 9 weeks of vacation or something. And it's not that I didn't work hard the rest of the time. There's just all of those fun little benefits.
Yeah. But it's not what people imagine, is it? It's not that, you know, working your own hours and earning the big bucks. So I think a lot of people think the dollars we charge are the dollars we put in our bank account at the end of the day, not taking into account all the insurances and the photocopying paper and all of the things.
Well, and maybe that's something we could talk about next time we connect. But I actually think that financing thing holds people's growth back. So I know it really affects certain sizes of companies in certain industries, but it's especially evident here in Canada and in America amongst realtors, like real estate agents, where they believe that their commission is their pay, and they do not invest enough money in running the actual business. And I've seen it with clinicians as well, where they go, well, you know, my hourly is my hourly. And you go, yeah, but like, what are you doing to actually scale, grow, admin, you know, all of the work that goes into all the paperwork for all of the claims and insurance and cash payment and everything else. Like the machine needs to run. And if you think you're going to keep 92% of this for yourself, you are going to have a very poor run company. So
that's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly
never mind growing your company through, you know, taking time off for being in the community, or being on social media, or hiring that assistant or whatever, you know, for marketing or whatever it might be. So
that's a big conversation. I think you're right. I think that's a big conversation. And given how much planning we've put into the content going forward, I wonder if we'll find time to talk about
Listen, I'm the guest here. This is your show. So.
Oh my goodness me, which is good. You know, this is, you know, it's unstructured, which I really love. I love a conversation that just goes where it goes. So, all right. So I think, you know,
I have a feeling that I'm going to start leaning on you, and we're going to start having more structured conversations.
Maybe.
And I think our audience will say,
might dictate.
What were you guys talking about? What happened? How did you get there? So there's a certain freedom that you require, but I think we're going to become a little bit more structured as we do this.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
This was a test.
This was a test. But I think you know, this whole idea of the fears that we have, and taking imperfect action and stepping outside your comfort zone. I think we've sort of stayed loosely on theme.
I'd say, listen, we won. We clearly won the podcast.
We totally won. We won. This podcast is winning on all levels.
Mm-hmm. And until next time.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to say goodbye to you.
Sounds good. Goodbye, audience.
Hang on a minute. Goodbye, audience. We will see you again next time, because we love you so much.